All right. Oh, we're live. Well, there's nothing like going live dancing, right?
It's
So,
all
well,
about
good.
the dance moves.
Well, good morning. Good morning. And you were not, Wendy was not kicked off for being a bad dancer. She's actually a fabulous dancer. But I just wanted to talk about her when she wasn't sitting there nodding her head. Good morning. Welcome to Intercultural Spark. So, Intercultural Spark, we have conversations with people about that spark inside them that drives them to bring, to spark change in the world. And it's something that everyone has. And we hope there'll be ideas for you in terms of how you can turn your energy and ideas and spark into to have it manifest in the world. So, Wendy Swart is she is a what does she call herself? She's an overall badass who gets stuff done. She's a get stuff done badass. But she also has a lot of fun doing it. She has a background in US and international elections. She communicates with clarity, and deadlines are her strength. So she is the co-founder of Creative Reframe that looks at how you build the arts into business to drive innovation and change in the world. And she throws a hell of a good party, whether it's a party for fun or these huge events that she does to bring young entrepreneurs and innovators together. So I am thrilled to welcome Wendy Swart Grossman to Intercultural Spark. Good morning, Wendy. How are you?
Good morning, Deanna. Thank you so much for having me, for that fabulous introduction, and for having me on your party.
Well, and thank you. It's a lot of fun when your friends are also just fabulous, amazing people driving change in the world, because then it's like we get to catch up with friends and find out all the amazing stuff you're doing. So really, it's so much fun. I just have fun being in your presence. So thank you, Wendy.
Try to keep it up.
And thank you everyone who's joining us live. So if you're joining live, just a reminder that you can ask questions in the comments, and also please say hello, because we don't know you're here unless you say hello. So appreciate that as well. So with Wendy, there's 6,000 hats that you could kind of go in. We'll just have her back 6,000 times. But today I wanted to talk to you about Wendy just got off. You're sort of hot on the trail of just having planned this huge conference, IdeaCon, somewhere up to 1,000 people. I mean, everyone's attending. It's about young
214. Not that I was counting.
1,214 people. But what I found exciting, and I'm going to let you talk about it, is in the world today, especially, as you get older, it's like, oh God, there's nothing new, or the world's going to pot. And then I talked to Wendy, and she talked about all these young entrepreneurs who have these amazing ideas to make change in the world. So it's the fourth year. What's IdeaCon? What's happening, Wendy?
Sure. This is all under, I am the creative practitioner in residence at Boston University's Build Lab, which is part of Innovate at BU. And the Build Lab is the Build Lab IDG Capital Student Innovation Center. And this is one of about 200 different innovation centers that are nestled in colleges and universities across the country. Wow. And so as part of Creative Reframe, which is the company that I co-founded with my colleague Jen Gilliman, we were contracted to be the creative practitioners in residence. And as part of that, I was the overall strategic director. Are you with me? I think we've got 7.
Well,
it's confusing.
No, but actually go back to creative. What do you call? So obviously someone who's you think of an artist in residence, so somebody brings art, embedded into a program. What does it mean to be a creative practitioner in residence?
Thank you for asking. So creative practitioner is really, I'm not a traditional artist. I don't I love this beautiful paint. I did not do that painting. I play the guitar, but you don't want, I'm really good with the 3 and under set, but you don't want to be handy.
Very popular.
I'm very artistic, but really the way that Jen and I have put together Creative Reframe is that we are creative practitioners. We love really the idea of community and connection to help build conversation. And so what we do, though, we work with artists and we infuse arts and creativity into really non-traditional spaces, really with an emphasis on these innovation centers at colleges and universities, to really to help break open break open these centers that are traditionally, really since they started appearing in the late 1990s, or not usually nestled in engineering, business, and computer science. But we're really saying, and this is certainly part of a larger trend, the importance of cross-disciplinary conversation, infusing arts and creativity, which is a key piece of the whole innovation ecosphere, that certainly innovators are creative. But we also want to open up these spaces so that we can bring in the fine artists, we can bring in the gastronomy students, we can bring in the biologists, so that they feel comfortable in these spaces. And so you really, create an atmosphere in all sorts of different ways, and having that head on, so we can see not only what's here at the Innovation Center, but what could we do to help elevate these conversations and infuse them into the way that they work and move through the world.
Well, I was curious to see that there's actually at BU, well, at least at BU, they have, you can get a minor in innovation and entrepreneurship. And I can see how you would teach entrepreneurship. I'm curious, how do you teach innovation?
Yeah, well, innovation is really, it's giving people opportunities to create their own ideas. And it's where do ideas come from? So it's all about how do you create these vessels, and how do you create the structure and frameworks to give students, undergraduates and graduate students, the support they need to go after their own ideas. And the whole idea, if you really step back, it's how, the world's trajectory, we need new ideas. We need creative ways to do it. And how do we work with our students to feel confident to put forward their ideas, so that we give them the skills that they need so they can fly. And
well, I thought it was interesting that there's actually, sorry, I totally cut you off. Wait, actually, just if you weren't here for the intro, Wendy and I have known each other for, I'm not even gonna say how many years, because it's a really long time. So this is just how we talk. So after, she's like, why does she keep cutting her off? It's because this is because that's what we do. I know. I'm like, that's really interesting, Wendy. But can you tell me about the money? You always say follow the money. What I found fascinating, because I think April 16th, so we're going to show one of the videos, and if I'll actually formulate a sentence, it's that not only is BU or these innovation centers across the country supporting young entrepreneurs, they're actually doing almost like Shark Tank like competitions, and there's a lot of money behind this.
Yeah. No, this is actually part
That's amazing.
These innovation centers that that in order to encourage people to move along through the innovation pathway, if you will, it starts off with, you're asking how do you teach innovation? First have, it's the competition. It's okay, but first you start off with, as a freshman or a sophomore, it's okay, where do ideas come from? And so the first part is the idea. And then this whole pathway is walk, run, and fly. And along each of the ways is when different pots of money will become available to you if you've met these different criteria, if you are going through that whole, so you can actually launch your business at the end of the day as a nonprofit organization, as a for-profit organization. Sometimes it's just an event as well. But that's that whole experience for the student, whether or not they actually fly and actually launch the business, just that whole experience of taking an idea and putting it out there in the world is an incredible opportunity for students to see how you go from an idea to launching, whether are they entrepreneurs or whether they're intrapreneurs. So.
Oh, wait, what's that? Because I want to actually show an example of what this is, but what do you mean by an intrapreneur?
Somebody who actually, there's plenty of people who don't feel comfortable getting a W-9. They're W-2 people. They like to, it's I need to know. But yet within.
Oh, so they're innovating within another company as opposed to driving their own business. But now people driving their own business are often seeing something that's not happening in the world and then want to drive a solution for that. So can you set up, so at IdeaCon, I think there were 6 finalists for
this actually wasn't a competition. competition. This was just more of a showcase to
Okay.
inspire innovation and inspiration in the people who attended. So there were
Okay.
6 innovators who were Ignite speakers who were chosen, not just from BU. We had 3 BU students. We had one from University of New Hampshire, one from University of Michigan, and one from University of Massachusetts at Lowell. And we gave them a lot of help, and that's what I shepherded them through the process to get to the point where they could give their 5-minute Ignite talk. And that's what that they gave on the big stage. Normally it's in person. This obviously was all virtual. And I think you're going to see Gino Miller, who's from the University of New Hampshire, who launched his company Study just last year. Or it's been a long time in the making, but this is his story.
Okay, fantastic.
What were you doing when you were 14? Staying up late, playing video games, flirting? When I was 14, I started my first company, but not because I had this grand idea or because I was a weird teenager. It was because I wanted to make some money to help my family out. So in the summer of 2010, I started a clothing line called Cloud9 Kid. I chose the name Cloud9 Kid because it embodied how I was feeling at that particular time in my life as a teenager. I was a high achiever and a great critical thinker, but I also felt alone because of this sometimes. I knew I was different than most kids, but Cloud9 Kid was a way for me to express myself and connect with others who also were motivated to beat the odds and be successful. And here's one of our most popular designs, Unchanged. And yes, that is me. I made $30,000 that summer selling t-shirts. That's when I learned that I had a talent for selling, helping, and connecting people. I was also gritty, determined, and focused. But what I really learned that summer was that I was an entrepreneur before I even knew what the hell an entrepreneur was. And this initial success only made me even more determined and even more focused to be successful. It made me want to dive in headfirst and chase my dreams. But even before entrepreneurship, I fell in love with the sport of football at age 9. And that's always what kept me on a straight and narrow focus. So this early success in entrepreneurship only made me sink my teeth in even deeper as I dedicated my entire focus to the sport. This made me even more gritty and even more determined. And eventually, it paid off, and I earned a full scholarship to play football at the University of New Hampshire. Football was fun, but what I saw off the field was really fascinating. I was exposed to a world of opportunity where professors' whole goal, their job, was to help you succeed. For the first time in my life, I was introduced to the technology and STEM fields, as well as the great high-paying opportunities that they provided, and a support system of mentors who truly understood the importance of innovation, but also knew how to strategically think as an entrepreneur. All I could think about was one question: how can I connect my friends and family back at home to these same wealth opportunities? And that is the exact same question that led to us founding Study. Study was founded in 2018, and Study is a career hiring marketplace that connects top tech talent of color with companies who are looking to build more diverse and inclusive workplaces. But it didn't start there. You see, our junior year of college, my friend and now co-founder, Ray Vaughn, who is a Black man from Brooklyn and also a software engineer, was struggling to find a job. He finished at the top of his classes and he was getting offers, but he wasn't getting offers from the companies that he really wanted to work at. So I moved to Palo Alto, California to really get an understanding of why such talented engineers of color were struggling to find jobs at these great big tech behemoths, and why, with all of this money and resources that they had, was this an issue. And quickly, I learned that engineers of color dream of working for these organizations, but companies simply struggle to connect, hire, and retain them. You see, these job seekers, they have the skill. They just lack the platform that allowed them to effectively showcase their skills in a way that helped them stand out to recruiters. They didn't have an advocate, a support system, a champion. So that's the exact same problem that Study solves. Study vets and connects both employers and job seekers with each other, allowing job seekers to enter the careers they enjoy while also helping companies build more diverse and inclusive workforces. It's been a fun ride and it's still early, but if there's one thing that I learned that's important about running a startup, is that it's important to have a team. So far in 2021, Study has acquired 9 Fortune 1000 companies as clients. We have over 1,000 candidates in our database, has secured over 30 partnerships with HBCUs, coding boot camps, and other universities and talent suppliers, to help feed candidates to the study platform. We've successfully placed 4 amazing engineers at great job opportunities. And since January, we've already doubled our sign-up growth from month to month. Who the heck would have thought that an experience like selling t-shirts door to door as a 14-year-old and acquiring the support system that I had in college would be what laid the groundwork for something like Study? Study is a platform that serves as that support system. It serves as that champion for others. But this goes beyond just getting a great job. This is an everyday life. So in close, here's my challenge to you. We all have an innate gift or talent that's meant for us to give back to others. And I challenge you to find your talent, your gift, and cultivate it. Surround yourself with those champions, those advocates that help you bring that gift to fruition, and then go out and share that with others. Whether it's being the best barber in your city, cutting lawns, or doing something as crazy as starting a tech company, find that gift and cultivate it. Because it may not be obvious, but I promise that someone out there could really, really use your help. And that's what life is all about. Thank you.
Well, Key is wonderful. And what's fascinating to me, Wendy, is that, I do a lot of work in diversity, equity, inclusion. And so we're often doing focus groups or talking to companies, particularly in tech fields, construction, things like that. And they're constantly saying, well, we're having that. There seems to be a problem. They talk about feeding the pipeline or finding diverse candidates. And of course, they need to have engagement and inclusion once companies are in, but it really feels like there's a big need for this, just from what I'm hearing on the other end from companies that are looking to diversify their workforce.
Oh, absolutely. And that's what, and what I think is so incredible about Gino is that not only did he see the problem and that he was the right person at the right time with the right idea to help make this to fruition. And he got the help that he needed. He knew what he knew and he knew what he didn't know, and pulled his folks together. And and that he used all the resources that were available at the University of New Hampshire. I work up there with the director of their Innovation Entrepreneurship Center, Ian Grant, who's their head. And it's been, this is where the innovation and this is where the inspiration and hope comes from.
Now, is he in on the competition that's coming up? So what's the competition on the 16th?
Yeah, so then in addition to IdeaCon, which is, basically it's now really the nation's largest student innovation and entrepreneurship conference to inspire inspiration in students, then in addition, at Boston University, at the Build Lab, Innovate at BU, there has been a year-long getting ready. It's called the New Venture Competition. And students start out really in September. They do a pitch and pizza when they come up with their ideas. And then there's different pieces along the way to get them ready for the finals. And they're all basically, it's like Shark Tank. It's, they're going to be vying. The Student New Venture Competition final is on Friday, the 16th of April. They'll be giving 10-minute. There's now 12. There's 2 different tracks. There's the general track, the general studies track, and then there's the social impact track. So, so very early on, it's like, are you going to be a for-profit? Or are you going to be a nonprofit? Where do you fit in the railroad tracks there? And then each one will be ventured along, mentored, help with their pitches, help with their business plans, help finding other people to get teams, have different office hours with different staff members. I work with great staff. I've been lucky enough the overall director is Li Liang, who's the overall managing director. Christine Armstrong is my colleague who runs the whole program, and Tom. And it's just really been fascinating, especially in the pandemic, right? This is all happening. So they're getting ready for the big pitch. And on the 2 separate tracks, for third prize, you get $6,000 for your company. Second prize, you get $8,000, and if you're the grand winner on one of the 2 tracks, is $18,000 per side.
And that's all designed to be able to actually take your business idea and put it into practice. That's amazing.
So they can actually, especially if you just graduated, it's like, where am I going to get the money? And it's like, it's so much hustle to get stuff up and running. You've got to love to believe in your product.
Sure. So I'm thinking like a lot of people, let's say that I'm connecting with or who might watch this show either live or after are probably the parents. My guess is the people that might be watching this are the parents. So let's say a parent has a child or a young adult in their home who's interested in entrepreneurship or innovation. How can they inspire that early on, or how can they guide their child to know about this or to get involved?
Yeah, I think, well, it all starts with, being aware of not only what's in the world, but what needs to be in the world, and what that you have the grit, the determination, the idea to actually to help change things, right? And then if you're looking for support, it's not, if you're at and actually a lot of high schools as well. I mean, just start Googling, innovation, entrepreneurship, the name of your town, and things will pop up.
Interesting.
Every college and university as well has some type of innovation entrepreneurship center, or at least it's somebody it's part of their job to be part of this innovation.
And you're saying that's at most universities. How is it all funded? So like the $64,000 or whatever for this contest, is it funded by the university or corporations getting involved?
Most all colleges and universities, if they're not state run, they are nonprofit organizations, and they work with their alumni. This is, again, like what you mentioned.
Interesting.
Building pipelines. It's about building. If any smart company is thinking about what's happening tomorrow, who's got the cool inventions, who wants to get their name attached to. So at BU, it was the reason that it's called the IDG Capital Student Innovation Center is because IDG Capital was smart enough to think, who are they?
They sponsored it. Oh, nice.
Yeah. It's all these naming opportunities, right? And Kodiak Ventures actually writes the check every year for the idea
fantastic.
Because it's vested self-interest, right? It's like what do they care about? They care about building the next big thing, and they're always looking for new students and building those pipelines. And even if you have a venture that you're launching into the world through the new venture competition, who knows what's going to happen in the next couple of years? But you've shown your stuff. You've shown your grit and determination, and maybe it will be bought out. Maybe you'll be brought in. Maybe you're just going to dissolve the company. But the skills you have learned are what we need for this 21st century and the new jobs that are out there.
It's so hopeful. It's just so hopeful. It's been a hard year with people thinking that the world's gone to pot, and then you see young people with these ideas. That are really amazing. It's really inspiring.
It is. And I just feel so pretty lucky that during this, as we've all been in our bunkers, to be able to Zoom really literally around the world with students through BU, but also through some of my other clients, as they are building, so I can help them think about strategy, constituency building. How do you tell your story in a way that other people can understand what you're talking about? Getting rid of the jargon. So really help. And that's as an educator, that's our job really, is to, what skills do you need so you can fly, so you can then take things to a whole other level.
Sure. So. Wendy, it is time for Flash Photo Stories.
Okay, let's do it.
All right. So Flash Photo Stories, because again, the guests that come on the show are so multifaceted and amazing. There's never time to talk about everything. So you have given me 6 photos ahead of time, and you're going to give me just a 1 to 2 sentence story about each photo. What is this?
This is IdeaCon going virtual, baby. I turned myself into a television producer to make this mama happen. It was fascinating. This is Questrom Theater at Questrom Auditorium at the Questrom School of Business at BU. Normally we have 400 students in there. Of course, we were allowed to have 15 people total. So that's what we're looking at. We're looking at the stage. We're looking at our 2 MCs up there who are just terrific. 2 young.
Fantastic. Well, and so you were able to get 1,200 instead of 400. So that could be a benefit. Yeah. All right. What's this?
So I teach a course called Cultural Entrepreneurship in the Graduate School of Arts Administration at Boston University. And the last class I do is towards the end, we do a walking tour of entrepreneurship hubs throughout Boston. So this is when we were in Rockport, in Nubian Square in Roxbury out front of Haley House, which it's a coffee shop run by formerly incarcerated folks, as well as drug and alcohol abuse folks, and it gives them the skills they need. They also use it as an art space. It's incredible. They got great chocolate chip cookies.
Oh, you know, I'm a big fan of cookies. Please, pray tell, what is this?
This is, I do a class just all on where do ideas come from. And we prototype. So I break my students into teams. It's all about teams building. Don't do anything alone. It's so much more fun in a group. So I put the teams together based on the different skills and their inventories, put the teams together and give them each six pipe cleaners to come up with a prototype of an invention that they come up with that has one moving part that everybody has to touch, and then they get ready to pitch. And this is all within 20 minutes.
And what is this? So it looks like a not a 4-leaf clover, 6-leaf clover. What is this?
It's a solar-powered water pump. Thank you very much. So, yeah.
Fantastic. And what's happening? What's happening here?
Oh, this is my favorite question in the world. This is at the Arts and Ideas in Action Conference, which was really the kickstart of IdeaCon, where we had 200 people all gathered, really talking about what happens when arts and business come together with social impact. And these are people just gathered around. It's how do you create community? It's answering the question of, wouldn't it be cool if? And that's where I love to start with. Than anybody. It's like, wouldn't it be cool if, and for me, it's always, wouldn't it be cool if all the water fountains actually had chocolate milk? Oh my God. Did somebody please invent that? So
I love it. But that goes back to that question of if somebody thinks they want a good place to start for people who think they want to be entrepreneurs or innovationists. I think there's two sides to it. It's the wouldn't it be cool if, or that anger side, like why the heck do they do it that way?
You're totally. It gets you so pissed. It's like, why isn't there social justice? Why isn't one of the other speakers I worked with who has Wicked Loud, which is a statewide slam poetry festival, and she was just upset that the existing statewide poetry, or not upset, but she's like saw an opportunity to embrace a more holistic approach to slam poetry. She's like, oh, this needs to be put out there. I love that.
I love it too, that idea of not saying, well, you know what? It's because I like that phrase, there's no such thing as they, because oftentimes people approach that with, oh, they should do that. There is no such thing as they. They is like the person who actually does something. So what is, let's look, I think we have, oh, here we go. Besides an amazing woman with a big muscle, tell me what this is.
That's my colleague, Jen Gilliman, and she and I do all of our creative reframe thinking together. We launched our class, Cultural Entrepreneurship, and we were asked, and thanks to BU, I have to say, they really helped give us the platform we needed to help launch our company. And this was an ask to come speak at the TEDx talk. And that was really, once you have a talk in front of 15 people, or for 15 minutes in front of thousands of people, you get your stuff together, man. You don't want to, so anyways, in front of the TED right before we went on stage.
Great. So it really made you hone the whole argument, if for lack of a better word, but the argument of why it's important to infuse arts thinking or innovative thinking into business for social change.
Jen and I just had a shared Google Doc that we just called Gendy, because that's what our students called us. And it's like, wait a minute, I think we've got something here. And that has then morphed into Creative Reframe.
That's fantastic.
Oh,
and what, pray tell, is this, Wendy?
So prior to all this, the big downturn of 2008, 2009, we had been living in London. And my husband's job disappeared. I didn't make enough as a nonprofit person to help us. And so we came back to the US. But we didn't just buy a house and get jobs. We bought a 29-foot Winnebago Itasca Impulse, and we lived for a year in the RV, homeschooling our kids in national parks and public libraries, and I wrote a book about it.
Actually, and I can attest, first of all, she's leaving out the one part that she was homeschooling like one preteen and one like teenager in this small enclosed space.
Yeah.
So if anyone listening is a parent of a teen,
close.
oh my God. But the book is hilarious. So with true Wendy aplomb, the book is hilarious. So cool.
Available on Amazon.
Yeah, available on Amazon. Wendy, there is one other segment of the show that I'm really excited to share with you, which is dun, dun, flash exercise. I need to get a guest on the show who writes, advertising music. Otherwise, I'm just going to keep singing. I'm going to keep singing the theme songs. So, do you like that flash exercise?
Yes, I love it. I love it.
No, wait, now they can see it's me because I've gotten rid of it. All right. So, okay. So I'm also a fitness professional, and I also like to do a very small, unknown genre of fitness, which is interpretive aerobics. And so I always like to share an exercise that people can do at home. It's a great exercise, but it relates to the theme of what we're talking about. So let's go ahead and stand up for this. I'm just going to adjust my camera a little bit. Oh, you're already standing. I'm going to stand. All right. So the reason this is a couple of different ways is because this exercise, if you do it standing, but then if you look at it a different way and do it from your back, you get different results. And so innovation, you do things differently, you get different results.
It depends on your angle. Love it.
This also has to do with, God, I miss people and want to hug them. Okay, so here's our exercise. Start with your arms right out in front of you. So they're shoulder height. You're going to squeeze your elbows in tight, squeezing your shoulder blades together. So that gets your shoulders and your upper back. Open your hands wide. That's your rotator cuff. And then you come around like for a big bear hug, coming back to working your shoulders. And I'm going to grab, if you have it or anyone at home, grab a couple books. They can actually work as weights. So let's do it together, and then I'll show you the different ones. So you come forward, start here, squeeze in tight, open, and around. So it's squeeze, open, and around. So again, we're getting our shoulders down away from your ears, rotator cuff, and then shoulders again as you come around. If you do this exercise lying on your back, it actually works your pectorals. So if you're lying down, because then you're bringing your arms in, coming around, and you get your upper and lower chest. So that, my friend, emphasizes, if you look at things a different way, how you can actually get different results. And that is important.
Incredible. You're incredible. Oh my God.
Wendy, thank you so much for being here today. And thank you for everyone who tuned in live. We really appreciate your joining us. And I'll share, Wendy had lots of links that I'll share on the post with this afterwards, because the fact that so much innovation and entrepreneurship is being inspired, and honestly, the fact that there's all this money, that sounds like there's just a lot of money out there to help young people get their ideas off and running is really exciting. So Wendy Swart Grossman, so great to see you.
Exactly, my friend. I love it. I love it. Mwah.
All right. And thanks for all the great work that you're putting out into the world. So
that's what we do, man. Okay.
All right. Love you, man.